Hope you've all refreshed and gotten a chance to stretch your legs and are ready for our next session, which will prove to be, I think, very, very informative and educational for most of us, given that we are, of course, finance people and not technology people. As you all know, global equity markets this year have been largely driven by a small concentration of big tech companies, and most of those big tech companies have a strong push or are allocating a lot of money towards artificial intelligence. Well, some of them might just be talking about it in results presentations, but be that as it may, AI is, of course, the flavor of the month. And so we thought it incumbent upon us to bring you some real experts in this domain to discuss this issue with you in terms of AI and how it may impact the investment industry at large, beyond just the hype which we all read about every day, to get a real understanding of the underlying issues. What exactly might AI achieve? What might it not achieve? And what does it mean, I suppose, for the economy and for our industry? So please allow me to introduce our moderator who will be handling the session. She will, of course, introduce the rest of the esteemed panel. We are very fortunate to have with us Kaluba Chikonde today. Kaluba is the data engineering lead at global AI and data consultancy Terraflow.ai. Kaluba is also the co-founder of Coding for Finance, which is a transformative initiative empowering young minds both in the financial industry and the technology industry. It is my honor to welcome Kaluba onto stage along with her esteemed panel. Thank you.
Yeah, we can have a look at. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will be a moderator on the panel discussion, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Investment Management. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen, heard, or used ChatGPT. So just maybe show the room. I'd like to, how many of you have seen, used it? Show of hands. Nice. And how many of you think it's just hype? Like, oh, a generative AI is just hype, it has no value. And how many, okay. And how many of you are just thinking, ChatGPT, what is that? Kima, who's ChatGPT? Who is that? It's okay, don't be shy. Okay, it means we do have quite a decent number of people in the audience who actually understand AI. But I'm hoping today that our experts will hopefully give you a very unique perspective on artificial intelligence and how it intersects with investment management. So today we have the privilege of being joined by three remarkable individuals, each offering a complete unique perspective on the intersection of AI and the future of investment management. So we have Dr. Jacques Ludik. Dr. Jacques Ludik is a smart technology entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in the field. He is the founder and CEO of Cortex Group and Cortex Logic. He's also the founder and president at Machine Intelligence Institute of Africa that focuses on transforming Africa through AI. He holds a PhD in computer science and AI, and his latest book is titled Democratizing Artificial Intelligence to Benefit Everyone. I hope we can all get a copy of that, Dr. Jacques.
Absolutely, just go to the website. There's a free PDF.
Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Well, our next speaker is Kamohelo Motaung. So Kamohelo is the head of data governance at Experian, and she plays a pivotal role in upholding data integrity and transparency. With a background in data integrity and quality assurance, Kamohelo's expertise is paramount in the AI landscape, ensuring ethical and trustworthy AI-driven decisions. Welcome, Kamohelo.
Thank you.
And our last speaker is Zubair Patel. Zubair is the co-head of data science and quantitative analytics at Prescient Investment Management. So he brings a data-driven perspective to the panel. With an extensive background in data science and business intelligence, Zubair's role at Prescient involves harnessing data to manage the downside risk and enhance returns for clients. May we please give our panelists a round of applause. Okay, so today I'm hoping we can get, different perspectives on, AI use cases, adoption, and, maybe productionizing AI. So I'd like us to start with, some applications and use cases of AI. And I'd like to start with you, Dr. Ludik. You have over 25 years of experience in AI, and your work extends beyond business into academia, where you've published extensively and you've held several senior academic positions. And my experience, learning data science in university was that there was a gap between machine learning research and machine learning in practice.
Yeah.
So how has your dual role as an entrepreneur and a researcher allowed you to bridge the gap between the cutting edge AI research and the real world applications of AI?
That's an interesting question. It feels like a previous lifetime when I was still at Stellenbosch University. I did some postdoc and research up to the late 90s actually. So, but I kept up to, obviously I'm interested, I did a PhD in recurrent neural networks and so forth, and we applied it straight away in the industrial space and financial services sector and so forth. But in terms of that transition, there's a few academics that's 1 foot in academia, 1 foot in business. The one thing I've learned is you got to make a choice. And I went into business and then created Season Systems, which was the first AI company on the African continent that was sold to a multinational, General Electric, in 2011. And it was an incredible learning experience. But it also kept, because a lot of the people that we employed initially was my students as well. So there was a bit of a transition as well. So people that I know artificial intelligence, they know software development, and they can apply those kind of skills. And you see a little bit of this if you look globally as well. And you think about DeepMind and OpenAI, they're kind of recruiting people from universities, and then they go into the Google Brains and DeepMinds and so forth to actually deploy the state-of-the-art AI. And especially now, if you think about transformer networks and generative AI, all of these kind of things was just a few years ago, research papers. And it was a very quick turnaround for that. But anyway, even before this era, I was applying kind of traditional machine learning before deep learning. And there was so much benefits from this already. So for me, in the 2000s, there was already a lot of value that we can unlock, especially in the industrial world. I think what happened now with the internet era is the fact that we've instrumented people, we've got a lot more data available, which is obviously fantastic for any consumer-facing business, because you've got all the clicks and all of these kind of things. You see what Amazon and Netflix and all these companies are doing. And the fact that we've got now incredible tools in that toolbox, that smart technology toolbox, like generative AI, that can really work on text mining. You've got data mining plus text mining, unstructured and structured data, and you can just unlock the value, look at the patterns in the data, and create applications. We're probably going to get to the applications, but there are plenty of applications that was probably not completely possible, I would say 7 years ago. And now with kind of transformer networks and generative AI and all of these kind of things to change the ball game. And I think with some people saying it's all hype, we'll see. I don't think so.
I mean, you did mention applications, and I think I would like to get into that.
Yes.
So for you, what are some of the standout use cases where you've seen AI being harnessed in the financial services industry at large, or specifically investment management?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a number. If you think about things that we've done, even within the Cortex Group, is investing in commodities and stock predictions and Forex and those kind of things as well. And it's actually kind of a combination between state-of-the-art AI and physics and math. There's all sorts of very interesting stuff that you can do there. There's algorithmic trading strategies, all of those kind of things. And then anywhere where there's optimization problems, if you think about portfolio optimization, there's clearly incredible opportunities to do things there. And if you think about sentiment analysis, trying to understand marketing trends and stuff like that, the fact you can now at scale really get into all the data that's available, public data, private data, all sorts of types of data, and you can have generative AI that can very quickly unlock, obviously it could be hallucinations and stuff, but it could unlock value very quickly, and you can have information that can help you with making better decisions very quickly. Things like fraud detection. The other big one for me is customer service. Just to personalize, to have a more personalized service around financial advice, for instance, or to really understand where an individual is at this point in time. Obviously it's dynamic, so you want to go with them over time, and you want to make sure you are still relevant, so you can personalize and come with the right offer at the right time. That type of thing, I think, makes a huge difference. So we're going to see some incredible applications along those kind of lines.
Agreed. I think we're definitely heading towards a world where customers really prefer that personalization. So that definitely plays a huge role. Now, you also mentioned, analysis, and when you think about data analysis, I think in the financial services industry, the first thing that comes to mind is Excel. I remember I saw a meme once of this elephant that was like sitting on a stool, and the elephant was financial services and the stool was Excel. Now, Zubair, from your experience, from your perspective, very few companies actually do utilize ML and AI tools and coding languages, for example, Python, R, etc. Why do you think that investment managers should actually consider integrating AI tools into their processes?
Yeah, no, thank you. Just on Excel, I'm a big fan of Excel. I love Excel. But if you just look at the, getting away, just on a small digression, getting away from Excel, the scripting languages such as Python and R, what they do is they enable you to have a level of, finesse or expression and flexibility that's not available in Excel. So when I look at, an Excel sheet, I open it up sometimes, and for the love of it, yes, I do like Excel. Get it on camera, I love Excel. But sometimes you open it up and you go, there's so much things happening in there. And what a scripting language is, it's explicitly saying it's a scripting language. What that gives you is that level of script. It tells you from start to end, this is what has happened. This is how the data gets processed, the information. So it's really awesome sort of tool to move to is some level of scripting language. And just on AI tools, why should investment management use it? Simple. Business efficiency, improving operations. The AI tools are there to reduce the time taken to do mundane tasks, get that level of automation. Your AI-powered tools such as we mentioned, your ChatGPT, your co-pilots, those sort of tools are there. And then we talk about, let's get a bit more under the hood, we talk about ML. So your machine learning is fantastic. It's got a level within an investment house. It gives you a new level of ideas, a diverse set of ideas that you can apply in, your quantitative methods, your portfolio construction. So to have that, we talk about, diversity in terms of teams, inclusivity. You should look at AI as here's a new set of tools, which are, I can use them. They give me different ideas, different solutions. I should include them in an organization. And that's my take on, why should you use or integrate AI tools?
Awesome. And so given your expertise at Prescient Investments, could you share maybe some use cases in which Prescient has successfully leveraged or plans to leverage AI or ML tools?
So let's start with like your classical ML. So your unsupervised learning algorithms, they are there. We use it for segmentation, identifying whether the regime in some economic period is legitimate or not. Supervised learning is definitely there as well. We use, advanced regression techniques, some L1, L2 parameters. And then in terms of, looking at your more exotic ML, your neural networks and that sort of things, we've got quite a strict approach in incorporating these examples or use cases where as a quant house, we've got an arsenal of existing quant models. So what we do with the ML or the AI is we would try to augment it, or like support those sort of models, and go all the way to the one extreme, and kind of create new research or new levels of analytics using the AI. So you got the nice start of just trying to be very safe, generate something that we know using an alternative method, and then let's use the ML or the AI to generate something completely different. And we play we're very strict about that as to what comes out of those ML models. Put a big microscope on we have to be strict. Yeah.
Thanks for that. And Kamohelo, I want to come to you because I think a lot of companies with data, being the new oil, a lot of people tend to neglect data governance and data integrity. So I just want to ask you, how do you see the role of data quality and governance evolving as AI becomes integrated into investment management or just businesses in general?
Thank you for the question. As you did say that I'm coming from a data governance perspective, I've never been the one to be liked in the organization, considering that I'm coming from an internal auditing background. So people are never happy to see me in the room for that reason. With the whole hype and how AI tools can help the organization, the effectiveness, automation, and all that, I'm also excited about it. I like it, so that people can focus more on duties that really requires a human intervention on them. But I always make a joke to say, until you are in a flight with somebody with a bomb, you will never appreciate all the controls that they've put from when you check in your bag at the airport until you board. And that is exactly where data governance come in, to say, with all these AI tools, we need to have a responsible way of using them and looking at the data quality of it. As we all know, there's a saying that garbage in is garbage out. So whatever you put in there, if it's garbage, you're gonna get garbage out. So it's very important that you look at the data quality to ensure that these AI tools, whatever data that we ingest in it, is data that is accurate, is data that is consistent, is data that we can trust, that is complete. So with that being said, it's very important that we understand in my role right now, if we have to do any AI or adopt any AI tool, the first step is to say, what data are we working on? Let's look at our data asset register. Let's know what data we're going to use. From there, let's decide, let's have that clear transparency on how do we get that data? Where do we get that data from? What are the processes of us getting this data into the organization? The flow of the data from when we get it until when we have to destroy it. There have to be that transparency. And then once you have that, then you look at the business requirement. What are we trying to achieve with this AI? Because people jump into this hype that organizations are adopting AI, but what do you need the AI for? Let's go back to the business strategy. What do you need it for? What are the opportunities that we think AI is going to assist the organization? So from that, you need to determine what are the business rules. What business rules are supposed to be there, and that's where we need to also identify the data quality rules that has to be in place so that we ensure that when we adopt this AI, we can confidently say that whatever is going to come out of there, it's quality because we have ingested quality data.
Agreed. And I think it becomes very important when you're also dealing with sensitive data. I can imagine in a financial services industry, you deal with a lot of sensitive data, so that becomes very, very important. But you actually, almost alluded to my next question, which now goes into business alignment and operationalizing AI. So how do we scale AI? How do we ensure that when we build our AI models, we can actually get them into production and we can scale them? And so with that, I would like to start with you, Dr. Jacques Ludik. As a founder of multiple AI companies, you've been extensively involved in operationalizing AI models. And, it's said that 90% of AI models fail to reach production. From your experience, what are the major causes of this, and How have you been able to overcome them?
Okay, that's a great question, like nice practical question as well. And I want to add on to what Kamo was saying there. In terms of data, it's from a machine learning AI perspective, the data is super important. So data quality is important. You can look at model complexity. There are a bunch of things that's important, like for instance, business value drivers or not aligned with the business, whatever you do. And then also you need to look at the people that's implementing as well. But I've got this, the Industrial Data Corporation has got these 5 pillars for AI-driven digital transformation. And it really starts with the business value drivers, the intent, the strategy. What are you trying to achieve? That is very, very important. So you need to, it's kind of as on to what Kamo was saying. So that is one of the core pillars. And you want to really make sure you do that well. I remember even at when I was at Jumo, part of the executive team there, very much focused on getting that kind of thing right and making sure that you implement to the business value drivers. Also, I remember with Cortex, we did one of the leading banks. There was a bunch of use cases, and one of the ones that came to the top was more around personalized home loans. That was the most important use case, because if you increase the market share with 1%, 2%, 3%, that translates to billions of rands for them. So that use case is very important. But then the other pillars is data, technology, people, and processes. So when you implement solutions, you shouldn't just think about the solution. You first of all start with the strategy, the use case, the intent, what you're trying to do. You make sure you've got the maturity around your data infrastructure, and you want typically rapid access to all available data. Typically what you find in corporates, it's in silos, it's all over the place, and you can't automate machine learning properly if you don't have access to all that data, structured, unstructured data, wherever it is. You need it in your data warehouse, in your system. So that is very important. Technology is super important, and we live in the API economy, so that kind of toolboxes are changing all the time. There's a lot of decisions, architectural decisions that you need to make, or solutions, architectural decisions in terms of, for instance, there's open source, there's proprietary, there's commercial APIs. So what do you pick? And what's relevant right now might not be relevant in 2 months from now, and so forth. And then when you implement an AI-driven solution, it's going to impact either the customer or internal processes as well. So you've got to think about, you've got to have maturity around those kind of things as well. So the people, how it's affecting their jobs or tasks within jobs, if you start automating certain jobs or tasks within a job, and then also how does it change the process? So you need to look holistically at things. So it fails because it's maybe more ad hoc. And if you look at what the Industrial Data Corporation talks about, you can go from an ad hoc state all the way up to a continuous improved, optimized state. And you can actually evaluate all 5 pillars where you are. You might be good with your strategies, but are really bad with the data, people, processes, technology side, or not good with technology. If you don't have the right people to implement as well, that could be a big problem as well. So it's multidimensional why it fails. So you need to get all those kind of things right. And you also want to make sure there's continuous improvement around those kind of things. Yeah.
Agreed. I think we always tend to look at the technology. Everyone focuses on technology, but we forget the other pillars.
Sure.
And thank you for highlighting the importance of the other pillars.
I just want to say there's another big pillar around trustworthy AI. Trustworthy AI is like ethical AI, robust and lawful AI. And there's not the Wild West anymore around these kind of things. I think people expect now that we address those kind of things as well. So that's another big one.
Agreed. I think you did speak about, internal processes, and I want to bring that to you, Zubair. We've spoken about how AI offers immense potential, and yet many companies are struggling to integrate it into their processes. So how do you think, investment firms can align their strategies and navigate this transition to ensure that, there's a seamless and productive transformation into AI?
I think the last 2 pieces of conversation really kind of summarize what's needed. So I'll just give my 2 cents. Yes, Jacques, five pillars. I'm going to give you three. 3-course plan, 3-course meal, let's call it that. Bulletproof, try this, it'll work. One, as an investment organization, you have to be data-driven, and that's an executive decision that comes from the top. You gotta speak data, you gotta, make data-driven decisions. You gotta kind of have the lingo going around in the organization. Two, which is a lot of the 5 pillars that Dr. Ludik has spoken about, that's you need your infrastructure, you need your tech, you need your DevOps, you need analytic frameworks, you need good high quality data. It's basically your data analytic structure, pillars, frameworks, all those needs to be in place. And then once you got, your starter, your main meal, you can go to dessert. Now you can go to AI and ML. You can jump to dessert. You're gonna have a rough time. You can, maybe engage with consultants, which are, I think, expensive, but you have those basics down, be data-driven to have your data infrastructure, your technology at play, and then you can start moving on to, solving problems using AI and ML. And that's just my quick summary on that.
Agreed. 3-course meal.
3-course meal.
Free of charge.
Yeah, LinkedIn me in 2 months, or 2 years actually, because it takes a long time to get there.
Now, I want us to just speak about, the impact of AI on the workforce. Dr. Jacques, you did mention it. I think a lot of people are sitting here thinking, AI is going to take over my job. Am I going to be replaced by AI? There's a lot of debate around that. And so I just want us to speak about that. So Zubair, the rise of robo-advisory platforms has reshaped the landscape of the investment advisory scene. So what are some of the key advantages of robo-advisors, and how do they enhance the accessibility of investment guidance to a broader audience? Are there any maybe concerns about job displacement?
Job displacement? No. Let me first start with saying I'm not an expert on advisory. So the whole robo-advisor, I think you can always go robo dash fill in the blank kind of thing, robo personal trainer, robo. You find a lot of these products or services are popping up. And I know if you listen to the radio, you'll start hearing a little recurring theme: human when you need, and I think it's smart, or computer when you don't, or something like that. And I think the summary of that is there are certain services which are going to need human oversight. You want the automation and you want the AI to handle some of the more mundane tasks. And when it's something that's generally personal, such as financial advice and all those sort of things, you want that human element attached to it. That being said, if you look at there's a company, or a US firm called I think it's Condor Capital, and they publish a quarterly robo-advisor report. And I think over the last, since 2016, the robo-advisor platforms have, more than tripled in assets under management. I think somewhere from, in 2021, it's gotten to like $400 billion US. And that's 2022, sorry. And then, 2021. The 2022 number has dipped a bit, but it's obviously too early to make any sort of analysis on that trend. But in that report, and I guess what's quite obvious is that there's going to be a balance of the two. That it's found its place in its niche market, and it will service and open up that level of investment platform to a certain group of people, which it has.
Agreed, and I think it is important to understand that it is a collaboration. AI is not replacing humans, but it's meant to collaborate and enhance us with superhuman capabilities. And Dr. Jacques Ludik, you are an advocate for a decentralized and human-centric AI-driven future. And I watched a few videos, and you've always, mentioned that you believe that transforming Africa will require educating and upskilling people at scale. So how do you see AI affecting the roles and the skill sets of investment analysts and researchers in the coming years?
Yeah, I think that for me, I'm quite passionate about that. I've invested also in an educational startups and stuff like that. If we want to leapfrog here in Africa, we have to double down on education and anything that supports that. So all the interconnectivity, internet access, infrastructure is absolutely, we need to rethink how we think about that. Anyway, so otherwise Africa will be left behind and we don't want that. But anyway, so I do think it's quite interesting. I think it was PwC talked about a while ago. They looked at various jobs, and obviously investment and analysis is part of that, where they said that for at least 60% of jobs or occupations, 30% of tasks can be automated. That was a few years ago. That was before generative AI, large language models and these kind of things. We're going to see. So I think there's going to be probably more stress on that, and more tasks within jobs will be automated. Then Kai-Fu Lee also talked in his book, AI Superpowers, about two types of replacements. One-on-one replacements. Obviously, if there's many tasks within a job that's being replaced, then a full job can be replaced effectively. This is just the current jobs as defined. Obviously, we need 21st century skills. We need to be a lot more adaptive and change things. The pressure is on companies to really be forward-thinking about jobs. It should be more dynamic, job descriptions and so forth as well. But anyway, so one is kind of this one-to-one replacements, but then there is also AI startups that's kind of disrupting industries or subsets of industries as well, which could really turn things. The Apple Car could throw, yeah. So you can turn things around quite a bit. So I think that's also something to consider. But the way I'm looking at this, we shouldn't be afraid of this, but we should embrace technology. I think human plus AI is just going to beat AI or human on its own. So it's going to be, the approach should be, we are already on this runaway train. So let's be sensible. Let's use this kind of superpowers and to the best of our abilities. Now, if you think about investment automation, I think there's anything that's routine. I think Kai-Fu Lee talked about any task that takes 5 seconds to think about, sort out, that kind of task will be replaced as well. So anything that could be automated or any kind of routine thing. Which may be a good thing, because typically routine things are mundane. So the focus should be more on, if you think about 21st century skills, where what are we as humans good at? And we should think about emotional intelligence, compassion, the way we communicate, think strategic about things. Let these tools help us to be better strategic thinkers, better first principles thinkers, understand things on a foundational level as well. I think it's almost like we got too comfortable in a space where, and I think this is how the human brain works. The human brain is a prediction engine, and it tries to, if you think about Daniel Kahneman talking about system 1 and system 2, we don't want to think too much. We prefer to be an automated state. If you drive a car, you're in kind of a system 1, it's automatic, unless you're now learning to drive a car for the first time. I think for humans, we like to be in a comfort zone, and I think we're going to be challenged in the 21st century around those kind of things as well. And we should be fine with change.
Agreed.
Kaluba, before you move on, I just want to add on that, as I mentioned earlier on, that there has to be an AI vision for the organization, which is linked to the strategy. That is where you need to ensure that you look at the readiness for your organization. How ready are we for this AI? And looking at the skills gap that you have in the organization, as you most of processes maybe will be automated, then you need to reskill your current employees to align them to where the organization is going, to align them to the new digital way of doing things. So I always advocate for data literacy. that in organization, even the lady or the guy at the reception should have a certain level of data literacy. Should be knowing about data, should be knowing about digital tools, should be knowing something about where the organization is going, because you equip your employees to move with you as the time goes, that you do not leave anybody behind.
Very important, very important. And speaking of, or did you have something to say?
I just wanted to add, maybe relevant to this thing, and I just want to list, just very briefly, we know about the 21st century skills around foundational literacies and competencies and things like critical thinking, creativity, all of those kind of things, and then the character qualities, which is very important. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, a business person, these kind of things like perseverance and adaptability, those kind of things, I think it's relevant for everyone. It doesn't matter where you are. So those kind of skills are very important. But the future work skills was very interesting. I do talk about this in my book as well. I think people struggle with sense making as well. Even around COVID, there was so many different expert opinions. And if you think about, say, BRICS or all of these kind of things, there's different opinions. And I think it's important to really have first principles thinking around this, and also empathy with other points of view. And almost like steelman, different types of, it's good to be challenged because it helps you with thinking better about things as well. And I like Ray Dalio, Bridgewater Associates, release all about merit, and he's got this saying, truth is an accurate understanding of reality and an essential foundation for producing good outcomes. And if you look at physics and science, you want to model reality as close as possible. And I think in finance investment is incredibly important. So if you can, I think, so it's important for people to have those kind of skills.
Thanks.
And yeah, but anyway, so there's more to say around that, but let's go to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I want us to just maybe touch on adoption. And, regarding adoption, trust tends to be a huge factor. And I'd like to get your opinion, Kamohelo, on, can you share some of examples of how data governance practices can actually contribute to building trust with investors who might be skeptical about AI's influence on investment strategies?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier on, that for investors, they're looking at a business, right? The way you look at AI, you look at it as a business partner, not as a tool. This is the tool that you go to help you to make sure that you meet your strategic objectives as an organization. So with that being said, that's why transparency is very important to say, this is our business strategy, this is where we're trying to do. We have an AI vision around it, and these are the opportunities that we think AI would enable us to reach this goal as quick as possible, or as better or efficient as possible. So with that being said, you have a strategy, so you present that to the investors to say, we have identified these processes that we think that if we do go the AI route, is going to assist. With that being said, they need the trust, and that is where you need to be very transparent on where do you get that data from that will assist you to achieve that AI vision that you have. How do you collect that data? How do you process that data? And also taking into consideration the data quality, I can never go away from it, on because data quality is not one project, it's not a project, once-off project, it's a silver bullet, everything is done. It's a continuous process. That's when you need to also put it in paper to say, these are the measures, these are the metrics that we follow when it comes to making sure that the data we use is of high quality. So with that, then the investor is able to see the value of what you're trying to achieve, and also knowing how you can do it. Because I always say, with the AI algorithms, it must be so clear that you can explain it to anybody. Once you cannot explain it, then it means that there's something wrong with it. There's something you're hiding, or there's some bias somewhere. So it must be so clear that you can explain it to a normal business person.
That actually leads me to my. Do you have something?
No.
That leads me to my next question.
Well, can I just quickly say, I forgot something as well on the impact on the workforce, and what you just said reminded me of that. MIT's got this thing where they talk about trainers, explainers, sustainers, especially around kind of AI-related new kind of jobs. And there's obviously the training of systems, and you've got data engineers and machine learning and data scientists and all of those kind of people. Then explainers, to explain how the system works, what it does. That's going to become a real job as well. And if you think about black box systems like generative AI, large language models, it's maybe more difficult than, say, something that does a regression type of, or more traditional machine learning type of approaches, where it's maybe easier to explain it as well. So, and then sustainers would look at the ethics and the bias and make sure you can defend it and those kind of things as well. So, yeah. Anyway.
Thanks, awesome. You actually answered my next question.
Okay, what was the next one?
Which is great. So this is addressing the black box nature of AI systems, and that tends to be a big issue when it comes to regulatory compliance, especially in the financial services industry. So I was just going to get maybe Zubair, if you have anything to add on that, is how can investment firms provide clear explanations of these AI-driven choices to clients or stakeholders or even regulators who require transparency for compliance?
Do you like the term black box systems?
Would you, white box?
White box?
It's black because we can't see what's underneath.
It's a lot of, the word black box.
What term do you prefer?
Maybe opaque box?
Yeah, I think it's got more. It's so interesting with open source as well, because if you look at OpenAI and thinking about GPT-4, people regard it as kind of black box because we can't replicate this thing, the parameters and all of those kind of things.
Okay, but then
the open source would be more white box, or if you can you can build it.
Okay, probably think we need to define the black box.
But there's multiple definitions for black box.
Yeah, but I mean, so the reason why I don't like black box, we say is a black box, ML model, is that it's as if we don't understand what's happening there. You read Ian Goodfellow, you Trevor Hasty, you read back propagation, all those sort of things. It's well understood as to how it gets to its answer or its decision, but it's not necessarily very explicit.
That's correct.
And that's, I think, maybe that's the black boxy nature
Correct.
of it. But
well, if you lose deep learning, it says if you lose traditional machine learning approaches, regression type of approaches, or there's so many that you can almost see what it actually did to make a classification. Well, that's more. It's easier for us to interpret. But the moment you've got a classification that's based on so many different layers, you don't know exactly. Well, we all know backpropagation, how it works. I've programmed many backpropagation neural networks, different types of ones, but it's still difficult to explain, say for instance, the emergent properties, the reasoning that we get from large language models, and that's kind of black boxy type of thing as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I just when we just label entirely, that the models or the explanation that comes of it as black box. I think that's one of the things we've got to do in industry is not start or labeling things as black box, but rather let's be more explicit in the definitions of.
I agree.
Exactly that. Let's maybe go.
It's more
explain.
nuanced.
It's more nuanced.
No, there's no question about it. Yeah.
So I think not re-education or desensitizing, but that sort of conversation needs to start happening. I mean, I jump into a plane, I don't know how it works. And I put my trust in there.
Your life?
And you just trust. You trust.
I trust, yeah.
The airplane is for you like a black box.
Definitely. So let's start desensitizing and start, having this level of education around AI and machine learning, where we can start talking, a bit about we know why it reaches that particular solution. We have some level of understanding, not entirely. When it comes to explainability, we can't, go down to the root cause exactly, why this sort of feature was selected and chosen. But we do know we have a good understanding. So we should have those conversations.
Yeah, I agree.
Like this.
I agree.
Awesome. Thank you.
We went on a tangent here. So.
To be answer the question, I don't know.
You did answer. You did answer it. Thanks for that elaborative response. And before, I think we're running out of time now, but I'd just like to maybe get into risks. With everything comes risks and societal impact. And from you, Dr. Jacques Ludik, in your book, Democratizing Artificial Intelligence to Benefit Everyone, you address AI's potential negative impacts. We're all speaking about AI as in this amazing thing. It has potential, but there are some risks. And you also address, designing AI for social good and beneficial outcomes. So how can the financial services industry align its AI initiatives with broader societal transformations so that we ensure that AI-driven innovations benefit not only businesses and clients, but society at large?
Oh yeah, so I've got few chapters dealing with that, and it's such an important question for me, and I think for civilization. What I actually propose in the last chapter is kind of an AI-driven super platform, user-controlled, where everybody's got their own personalized AI. So every company's got their AI, every community, every family, every individual that's batting for them, not for the tech giant. Not for Facebook and Google and Amazon and all these that monetizing your data for advertising services. So it's all good to still have those kind of companies that's providing great services. But I do think we've got a great opportunity where we can democratize AI, not only the use, but also the benefits. If you can say, I've got an AI that's not only helping me in terms of my decision making and all of those kind of things, but it's also monetizing my data and services. So it just means that we need to probably re-engineer the way things work in the economy as well, but we can come with platform plays that's batting for civilization, society. And I do propose, I talk about this, they call it Sapiens, and there's a lot of detail in the book. You can go to jacquesludik.com and you can get details about that. Also on YouTube and other places, LinkedIn and so forth. So I do think, I think it's going to be very important. We don't want the middle class to be hollowed out. We've got a problem we need to fix. Ray Dalio also has all sorts of solutions to fix capitalism. So we know capitalism is good. It's probably the best system, but it needs adjustment, it needs fixing. And there are solutions, and we can use AI for good and to help with financial inclusion, to help that more people benefit from the technology. It's almost like, we live in a creator economy now as well, with AI and Web3. I've got a presentation on AI Web3, the next generation of the internet for the decentralized world. So I'm hoping, and I think we're moving in that direction, especially with blockchain and cryptocurrencies and all of these tokenizations of things, that I think especially with blockchain and AI, I think we've got incredible opportunities to really reset things as well. So, yeah. Quite excited about where we can go with this.
Thank you. Definitely it's an exciting time to be alive. I think Tato's Day is giving me a signal to say you're asking too many questions, and I'm sure we have lots of people in the audience who are burning to ask our panelists questions. So Tato, I don't know if we want to start you have online questions. I'm sure we have questions in the audience, so maybe we can start with the audience.
Yes, I think so. There's no online questions at the moment, so
awesome.
We do have a few minutes left for Q&A.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any questions from our audience?
I see one question to the far left.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is probably one of the topics that I myself very passionate about. So just first, I think one of the things that was touched on was around AI taking over jobs. And just to say, from a CFA perspective and the CFA Institute, we look at it as being, a combination of AI plus HI, or maybe the HI comes first. So we believe that human intelligence combined with artificial intelligence and augmentation of investment decision-making can only lead to better outcomes for investors. So I just want to make that point, and also that the Institute has recently put out a handbook on artificial intelligence and its integration into the investment process, speaking about many use cases around data-driven decision making and how we can use AI to also understand what our clients' needs are better. Just wanted to make that comment. So very much aligned to the CFA Institute and my own personal passions. I think in the handbook, one of the things they do speak about quite a bit is the bias that could come into models, and that AI models in themselves are not bias-free. And one of how bias can come into those models is the lack of diversity of the data that goes into those models. And I just wanted to ask the panel from a South African perspective, are we actually better placed to have less biased data, just given our demographics? But perhaps from an investment industry perspective, we actually don't have as much diversity. So that was my first question. And the second one is just around thinking through the use cases in South Africa. This is an opportunity to leapfrog, and what projects are you seeing, particularly in the investment industry, where you can see evidence that this leapfrogging is possible? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I answer that? Can I start?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
It's because maybe you touched on something I'm very passionate. I actually wrote an article. It was released today at 9 o'clock. If you do go on LinkedIn, you can check it, where I'm saying harnessing the AI field by diversifying your team. Going to your question is that South Africa, we are quite a diversified country. We have Indians, we have blacks, we have white, we even have Asians in our country. We are diversified, right? And it's very important that with the teams that are developing this AI algorithms, they are there's diversity in it, because that is where the biases are. Like, we're trying to address the biases. They say, don't be afraid of somebody who discriminate, but be more worried about a discriminative AI algorithm, because it has no conscience at all. Because I still have a heart, and I'll still be like, okay, maybe, but it has no heart, it has no feelings, it has nothing. So it is very important. And from a data governance perspective, that is what we do. There were other algorithms that have been created way back and experienced. We had to go back to those algorithms to say, are they discriminating anybody? And looking at that, and also ensuring that the team that works in our analytic department has different, is diversified in conclusion, to say that everybody brings their experience, everybody brings, we represent everybody in the team, even those who were previously underrepresented, that they are in the team, so that they can bring their experiences in it.
Agreed. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thanks. It does. To the one, I think you said, South Africa is just very diverse, but also it's not just about the data, it's the people themselves that are building the actual models.
Absolutely.
I think that's what you said, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a great angle. And sorry, my second question was just around use cases that the panel may be picking up from a South African investment industry that shows that we can actually use this technology to leapfrog certain aspects in investment decision making, or to lead to better clients for investors, better outcomes. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually want to just comment on two points on the first question. We mentioned AI or HI, and I think the theme of this thing is, towards conflict or collaboration, and just want to stress it, drive home the important point is that the future is, a balance of HI and AI. AI is here to stay, and it's something that we've got to use efficiently. Just on data and the diversity, business investment management probably has one of the largest data sets. That's anecdotal evidence. But when building AI and ML, we frequently, almost always, run into the situation that we don't have a lot of data. I think in the investment industry, data that's required for AI and ML is few and far between. I mean, we collect that, and data is expensive, and for years been collecting data, and we still, build models and go, damn, I wish I had more data. I think there's a bigger question of, do we have the data required for ML, or sufficient data, in terms of, let's say, particularly in the investment space for quant research or investment-related research, and that's a challenge. I would say that's a challenge, trying to just collect that data. That was on the first question. The second question, use cases.
Leapfrog.
And Leapfrog. There are many, just on the use cases, we spoke about some use cases in the beginning, and use cases are aligned to problems that I guess we want to solve, and AI or ML is not the one size fits all. You can't walk around with an AI or an ML cannon and target problems. You're not going to have a good time. I think I tuned into Cape Talk yesterday on the way home, and at 7 o'clock there was a talk exactly on this. And what the guy said is, common sense plays a massive component. If common sense is telling you don't need AI or ML here in this particular situation, then you probably don't. But back to the original question, yes, there are a number of, I think, almost too many use cases and fantastic ideas that we have where we can apply ML and AI in an investment setting.
So nobody's talking about leapfrog.
Leapfrog.
Do you know what? If I've got a magic wand, there's a lot that we can do here, South Africa and Africa, to leapfrog. And use the technology, but it would require all stakeholders, governments, private sector, public sector, to all be united with actually in my book I proposed a massive transformative purpose for humanity, but you can have a massive transformative purpose for South Africa. To just start here. And where you say, use the smart technology and the way you use data and everything, you actually want to make sure that people are participating, even with data gathering, all of these kind of things. But I would love to see this kind of AI-driven super platform type of thing implemented for South Africa, where you start empowering every individual, where everybody owns their own data vault, financial data, healthcare data, all sorts of types of data, and there's a way for them to monetize their data and services. We're creating kind of an ecosystem and reward people. You can have tokens. South Africa can have a token associated, and you can start. There's so many ideas. So we need to think from first principles, out of the box, and come with solutions. But it would take, unfortunately, it's not just a company. It would take everybody to really be aligned. And a big think tank and sort things out. But there's incredible, we are our own biggest enemy in terms of these kind of things. If you want to change things, you can.
Thanks. I think maybe we can take one question, or do we have enough time for a question?
There's a question there.
If it's a brief
Please start.
question.
Brief question. Please keep it brief.
That's not fair, you know me. Comment to my partner is a data engineer, and when she walks past my screen and sees spreadsheets that I am very attached to and fond of and think are amazing, then she gets the ick. She can't look at them, so I get the comment on Excel. Now, if at heart you're somewhere between 25 and 45, actually 35, you've pursued a career in investments and Python, Anaconda, OWL, R, STU, code. What suggestion would you have for us in the room? We can go and we can recruit software engineers, we can make them do CFA, but then, as you correctly point out, there's the explaining part of what it is you do. And I suppose, Zubair, how does Rupert, how does Bastian interact with telling you what they need, and how do you feed that back to them? And how can we equip ourselves to be, to understand what you're saying?
Yeah. Do you want to take it?
There's a book by a guy called Polymath by Peter Hollins, I think it is. And what a polymath is someone that's well versed or reasonably versed in highly related topics. So instead of specializing in or your path of expertise being a straight line, or even worse, T-shaped, where you specialize in two divergent fields, you should aim to have your areas of specialties very comb-shaped, short little strands or paths of very related topics. So if you're a quant, I'd say, learn a bit of data engineering. If you are a data scientist, learn a bit of, quantitative methods. If you are a web developer, learn some data analysis. And you don't have to be extremely well versed in those areas to have a good conversation with people who are, again, well versed in those fields. You just need to know a little bit, understand some of the fundamentals, and those are, just basically asking simple questions. Go to Google, what does a data scientist do? Okay, cool. Plays with databases, knows TensorFlow. Okay, cool. What do I need to know to have a conversation with my data scientist? Because for you to have an effective, and it goes down to AI strategy and all those things, for an organization to be highly effective and to actually deliver on the results, the person asking the questions needs to know how to ask that question. I need to be able to know, Bastian and Rupert, I love you. They need to know what questions to ask, and they will go and look up some basic concepts and understand some of the more complicated things that we know in significant depth. So research some quite basic fundamental concepts. And that's, as a data scientist or someone in machine learning, they are quite fundamentally, they are basic concepts.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think we are out of time, so I think we can wrap that up. But before we end it, I would just like everyone to just give our panelists a round of applause for taking the time to be with us. And hopefully, the people who are saying it's just hype have been convinced of the value that AI can bring to organizations. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.